Welcome back to World Information HD, your go-to source for the rarest, the most valuable, and the most fascinating treasures from around the globe. Today we're diving deep into U.S. numismatics, specifically the Lincoln Memorial penny. You might think of this coin as pocket change, but for collectors, certain dirty or oddly preserved examples are absolutely priceless. From misstrikes to rare minting errors, these pennies aren't just cents, some are worth millions. Stay tuned as we count down the top 10 most valuable rare Lincoln Memorial pennies in existence, and explore what makes them so incredibly rare, even when they look dirty. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just curious, you'll want to stick around, because coin history has never been this exciting. Today, we're diving into a fascinating chapter of American numismatic history, the 1974 S Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, the 1974 penny looks like any other coin you might find rattling around in a change jar, resting at the bottom of an old drawer, or maybe even in your childhood piggy bank. But the truth is, certain versions of this penny, especially with the S Mint mark, are far from ordinary. They can be worth an extraordinary amount of money, if you know what to look for. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why collectors chase after these coins, how they came to be, and why one special version of the 1974 penny is worth tens of thousands of dollars today. Let's begin by setting the stage. The year is 1974. America was in the midst of political scandal, with the Watergate investigation dominating headlines. Inflation was becoming a pressing issue, and rising copper prices were causing headaches for the U.S. Mint. For decades, Lincoln cents had been struck primarily out of a bronze alloy made of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. But by the early 1970s, the cost of copper was going up sharply, and it began costing nearly as much to produce a penny as the coin's face value itself. The Mint had to act quickly. This economic pressure led to one of the most intriguing moments in modern coin history, the 1974 experimental cents. While most 1974 Lincoln pennies were struck in the usual bronze composition, the Mint began testing new materials to cut costs. Aluminum was considered the prime alternative. In fact, more than 1 million aluminum cents were struck in 1974 as trial pieces. They were never meant for circulation, and nearly all of them were recalled and destroyed. However, a small handful managed to escape destruction and survive in private hands, causing immense excitement in the numismatic world. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the 1974 S Mint Mark penny? The S stands for the San Francisco Mint, which had a very specific role in the early 1970s. By this time, the San Francisco Mint was primarily focused on producing proof coins, specially made for collectors, with polished dies and sharp, mirror-like finishes. These proof coins were never intended for everyday use, and they were struck in limited numbers compared to the billions of pennies produced at Philadelphia and Denver. The 1974 South Proof Lincoln Center is a coin that combines both rarity and beauty. Proof coins are struck multiple times to achieve sharp detail, with frosted designs and deep mirror backgrounds. For collectors, these coins represent the pinnacle of craftsmanship. In 1974, proof sets included the Lincoln cent, and of course, they bore the S Mint mark to show their San Francisco origin. But not all proof coins are equal. Some 1974 S proof cents display remarkable cameo or deep cameo contrast, with the portrait of Lincoln appearing frosty and almost three-dimensional against the mirror-like field. These coins are graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, and it's those top-graded coins that bring the most money at auction. The story doesn't stop there. While the majority of 1974 S proof cents were struck in bronze, a few aluminum versions were also struck at the San Francisco Mint as part of the experimental program. These aluminum proofs are among the rarest Lincoln cents in existence. Their survival is shrouded in mystery, as the U.S. Mint considered them government property and demanded their return. A few pieces, however, slipped through the cracks. One such coin surfaced years later and caused a legal battle over its ownership. To this day, the 1974 aluminum Lincoln cents are among the most talked about rarities in American coinage, Even the regular bronze 1974 South Proof Center can be surprisingly valuable under the right conditions. Collectors prize coins that are preserved perfectly, with no scratches, blemishes, or hazy toning. A coin graded Proof 70 Deep Cameo represents absolute perfection, and examples like this are exceedingly rare. When they appear at auction, fierce bidding wars break out, pushing prices to levels that no one would expect for something as small and familiar as a penny. Let's pause for a moment and think about the journey of a coin like this. Imagine the day it was struck in the quiet, controlled environment of the San Francisco Mint. The dies were polished, the blank planchets carefully prepared. Each strike produced a flawless mirror-like finish, the kind of craftsmanship designed not for spending, but for collecting. The coin was then carefully packaged as part of a proof set, perhaps purchased by a collector in 1974 for just a few dollars. Fast forward nearly 50 years, and that very same coin could be sitting in a protective holder, commanding thousands of dollars from eager buyers around the world. But why do collectors care so much about coins like the 1974's penny? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, history, and condition. Coins are physical pieces of the past, tangible objects that connect us to the time and place in which they were made. A 1974 penny may seem recent compared to centuries-old coins, but it carries the weight of its era, the Nixon years, economic struggles, and the U.S. Mint's desperate experiments to reduce production costs. The rarity comes from both limited mintage and the survival rate. While millions of proof sets were made, only a fraction of those coins survive today in pristine condition. Add to that the allure of the aluminum experiments and the deep cameo proofs, and you have the ingredients for a coin that captures the imagination of collectors. Condition, of course, is everything. A 1974's proof penny in average condition might sell for just a few dollars. But take that same coin, free from imperfections, perfectly graded, and showcasing stunning cameo contrast, and suddenly its value skyrockets into the thousands. This is why collectors and investors alike seek out these coins. The chance that one small cent could turn into a life-changing discovery. It's also worth noting that coin collecting has surged in popularity in recent years. As more people turn to tangible assets, coins have become not just collectibles but also investments. Rare pennies like the 1974's proof occupy a unique place in this market, because they combine affordability at lower grades with staggering potential at the highest levels. Let's not forget the human stories behind these coins. Imagine inheriting an old proof set from a parent to a grandparent, never realizing that one of the pennies inside could be worth a fortune. Imagine sifting through a box of coins at a garage sale and stumbling upon a proof coin that turns out to be a treasure. These moments happen, and they keep the world of numismatics alive with excitement. The 1974's Mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than just a small piece of metal. It represents the ingenuity of the mint during a turbulent economic time, the artistry of proof coinage, and the thrill of discovery that keeps collectors searching. Whether in bronze or in the mysterious aluminum versions, it holds a special place in the story of American coinage. Now comes the question you've been waiting for. How much can the 1974's Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny be worth in its most desirable form? While most examples will sell for modest amounts, the finest known specimens, graded at the highest levels, with deep cameo contrast and flawless preservation, have stunned the coin market. In fact, one of these exceptional coins has sold for an astonishing price of $49,587. In the world of coin collecting, there are some coins that slip quietly into circulation, so ordinary and so unassuming that millions of people pass them by every single day without even a second glance. Yet, for those who know what to look for, these very same coins can become keys to unimaginable treasure. Today, we are going to explore one such coin that has captured the fascination of collectors across the world, the 1976 Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, this coin looks no different than the countless copper-colored cents that pass through your hands in change at the grocery store or that rattle around in old jars kept on shelves in family homes. It has the same iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the familiar Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that was first introduced in 1959. But behind its seemingly ordinary appearance, the 1970 60 penny hides an extraordinary history, one that combines American heritage, numismatic mystery, and collector passion. To fully appreciate why this penny has become so sought after, we need to step back in time to the mid-1970s. The year 1976 was a remarkable one for the United States. It marked the nation's bicentennial, 200 years since the Declaration of Independence was signed. Across the country, celebrations filled the air: parades, fireworks, special commemorative items, and coins struck to honor the anniversary. While quarters, half dollars, and dollars received special bicentennial reverse designs showcasing patriotism and history, the humble penny remained unchanged. It still carried the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse, but even without a new design, the penny of 1976 would not escape the intrigue of coin collectors. The Denver Mint, located in Colorado, played a crucial role in producing millions of pennies that year, each bearing the tiny D mint mark just below the date. For the vast majority of people, these were just everyday coins, meant to be spent and forgotten. But for numismatists, those passionate students and collectors of coins, the 1970 60 penny became a subject of deep curiosity. Why? Because within its production run, certain remarkable varieties and minting anomalies occurred, giving rise to examples that today are worth far more than a single cent. To understand this better, let's look at the coin itself. On the obverse, we have the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner and first used in 1909. Lincoln's profile is sharply defined, his gaze steady, with the word Liberty stamped to the left and the motto, "In God We Trust," arching above. The date, 1976, stands proudly to the right, and directly below it, the small D mint mark represents its Denver origin. On the reverse, we see the Lincoln Memorial, flanked by the words, "United States of America," above and 1 cent below, with the phrase, "E pluribus unum," crowning the monument. Now, the artistry of this design is not what makes the 1970 60 penny so fascinating. Instead, it is the way the coin was struck and the unexpected varieties that emerged from the minting process. In the Denver Mint, where millions of coins were churned out each day, even a tiny misalignment or doubling of a die could create a unique era coin. Some pennies show doubled images in the lettering, while others exhibit striking mistakes in the date or mint mark. These rare anomalies make certain examples stand out from the rest and command impressive premiums in the collector market. Another reason the 1970 60 penny is so intriguing has to do with its composition. This was during the final years of the traditional bronze alloy, made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. In 1982, the U.S. Mint would make the switch to copper-plated zinc pennies, forever changing the feel, weight, and sound of America's 1-cent coin. Collectors valued the 1976 penny not only as a relic of the nation's bicentennial era but also as one of the last coins struck in true copper. In a way, it is both a historical marker and a farewell to a long-standing tradition. But beyond its history and composition, the key question remains: how can a simple penny from 1976 become valuable? The answer lies in rarity and condition. Coin collectors know that not every penny is created equal. While billions of 1976 pennies were produced, very few have survived in pristine, mint-state condition. Most were spent, scratched, tarnished, and worn down by decades of circulation. However, the coins that were preserved, either by chance or by deliberate saving, remain brilliant examples of the engraver's art. A 1970 60 penny found in nearly flawless condition can be worth far more than face value. The most valuable examples are those that are graded highly by professional coin grading services, such as PCGS or NGC. A 1970 60 penny that receives a grade of MS67 or higher is incredibly rare, because maintaining such perfection through the minting, packaging, and circulation process is nearly impossible. These top-tier coins can fetch astonishing prices at auctions, drawing the attention of serious collectors and investors alike. Another element that boosts the value of the 1970 60 penny is provenance and demand. When a coin is highlighted in numismatic journals or sold in a well-publicized auction, collectors take notice. The increased attention creates competition, driving prices upward. For example, if two collectors each desperately want to own a nearly perfect 1970-60 penny, their bidding war can push the final sale into remarkable territory. It is in these intense moments that we witness humble coins achieving legendary status. Of course, part of the fun of coin collecting is the thrill of discovery. Imagine checking your loose change one day and spying a 1976 penny with a sharp, gleaming surface and a strong strike. What might look like a common cent to the untrained eye could, with proper grading and evaluation, turn out to be a hidden treasure. This possibility fuels the passion of collectors everywhere. They search through rolls of pennies from banks, purchase unsearched bags of coins, and attend coin shows, all in the hopes of finding that elusive gem. The story of the 1970-60 penny also connects deeply with American history. Think about the year itself. The bicentennial was not just a milestone, it was a celebration of the very ideals of liberty, independence, and democracy. Every coin minted in 1976 carries with it a piece of that patriotic spirit. Holding such a penny in your hand is like holding a tiny time capsule from an era when the nation reflected on its 200-year journey and looked toward the future. For collectors, that historical significance adds another layer of value beyond the financial. What makes the 1970-60 penny even more captivating is how it bridges the gap between the ordinary and the extraordinary. To the average person, it is just 1 cent. But to those who know its story, it becomes a symbol of hidden worth, of treasure lying just beneath the surface of everyday life. It is proof that even the smallest things can hold great importance when viewed through the right lens. Now, before we reveal the astonishing price one of these coins has reached, let's pause for a moment and consider why we are drawn to coins in the first place. For many, coin collecting is not just about profit. It is about history, art, and the human stories that coins carry with them. Each cent, nickel, dime, and quarter has traveled through countless hands, been part of endless exchanges, and witnessed the passage of time. When we find one that stands out, a rare variety, a near-perfect specimen, it feels like uncovering a secret that connects us to generations past. The 1970-60 penny is more than just copper and zinc. It is a story of America at a defining moment, a story of craftsmanship at the U.S. Mint, and a story of passion within the collecting community. And for one particular example of this penny, preserved in remarkable condition, the story reached a climax when it sold for a breathtaking amount. An amount that no one could have imagined for a coin with a face value of just 1 cent. Yes, a single 1970-60 Lincoln penny has sold for an astonishing $39,488. Welcome back to the channel, where history, money, and hidden treasures come together in the form of rare coins that most people overlook every single day. Today, we are going to dive into one of the most fascinating pieces of modern American coinage, the 1986 Lincoln penny without a mint mark. At first glance, it may look like just another ordinary cent that passes through millions of hands daily. But if you know what to look for, this coin could transform from being a simple copper-plated zinc disc into a collector's dream worth thousands of dollars. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation for well over a century, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. From the wheat reverse that ran from 1909 to 1958, to the Lincoln Memorial reverse that spanned from 1959 all the way to 2008, each design tells its own story about American history, artistry, and minting technology. By 1986, the Lincoln cent had already been through decades of changes, switching from bronze to copper-plated zinc in 1982, and seeing subtle shifts in its overall strike and appearance due to new minting techniques. So, what makes the 1986 no-mint mark penny so intriguing? To understand that, we need to first revisit how mint marks work. Mint marks are those tiny letters stamped onto coins to indicate where they were struck. Coins made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco each had their respective marks, though for many years Philadelphia cents carried no identifying letter at all. By the mid-1980s, however, the Philadelphia Mint had long continued the tradition of leaving their pennies without a mint mark, which often leads collectors to misunderstand the importance of the coin. But here's where things get interesting. not all 1986 pennies are created equal, and the value of a no-mint mark example comes down to rarity, condition, and the quirks of production during that specific year. The year 1986 was not considered a particularly low mintage year for Lincoln cents. Billions were produced, and the vast majority of them are still circulating today or sitting in jars, boxes, and forgotten drawers across the United States. The ordinary worn example you might find in pocket change is usually worth only face value, maybe a couple of cents more to a bulk buyer of copper-plated zinc pennies. But the story doesn't end there, because when we talk about rare and valuable examples, we are talking about coins that stand apart due to extraordinary condition, unique mint errors, or survival in pristine uncirculated states. Think about it. Out of billions of coins made, only a tiny fraction remain untouched by human hands, never dropped into vending machines, never rattled around with other coins in change purses, and never exposed to the wear and tear of daily use. These coins, preserved straight from the mint, can be nearly flawless. Collectors and grading companies like PCGS or NGC look for details like sharp strike quality, full original luster, and the absence of scratches or blemishes. On the grading scale, a coin graded MS65 or higher can already command strong attention, but the real money is in those nearly perfect examples graded MS67 or MS68. Now, why does the 1986 no-mint mark penny carry such a story of surprise value? The answer lies in the fact that while billions were made, only a handful of ultra-high-grade survivors exist. Add in the occasional striking error, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or missing design elements, and suddenly you're looking at a coin that is no longer just another penny. To a collector, this coin represents a mix of scarcity and condition rarity. Let's take a moment to imagine a coin from 1986, freshly struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Picture it sliding off the press, still glowing with bright copper shine, its design crisp and unblemished. If that coin were immediately placed into a collector's set or sealed away in protective plastic, it could survive the decades looking just as flawless as the day it was made. When such a coin resurfaces in modern times, coin grading services often recognize it as a true gem, something so rare and pristine that collectors are willing to bid aggressively to secure it. But not all stories of value are about perfect condition. Some of the most fascinating 1986 pennies gain value because of dramatic errors. Imagine a coin struck off-center, where only half of Lincoln's face is visible, or a coin struck on the wrong metal planchet altogether. These mistakes, while accidental, create a level of rarity that instantly attracts collectors. An error coin is like a fingerprint from the minting process. It tells a story of how machines, humans, and timing all intersected in a rare moment of imperfection. Over the years, auctions have demonstrated the incredible demand for such coins. Collectors hunt for these anomalies not just for their beauty, but for the bragging rights of owning something truly one of a kind. Stories circulate within coin communities of people finding error coins in pocket change or coin rolls from banks, and the idea that you could stumble across a treasure hiding in plain sight is what keeps the hunt alive. When you hold a 1986 penny in your hand, you are holding a piece of history that has traveled nearly 4 decades. It has witnessed countless changes in American life, technology booms, cultural shifts, and even debates over whether the penny should continue to exist. Yet through it all, this small coin remains one of the most recognized and collected coins in the United States. For the average person, the idea that a penny could be worth thousands sounds unbelievable. After all, it's just a cent, right? But that's the magic of numismatics, the study and collecting of coins. Value is not just about face denomination, it's about condition, rarity, demand, and the stories that these coins carry with them. A coin that cost only 1 cent to produce in 1986 can, under the right circumstances, transform into a prized collectible. Coin collectors often describe their passion as a mix of history, treasure hunting, and investment. Every coin tells a story about when and how it was made, the artistry behind its design, and the quirks of its survival. For the 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, its story is one of hidden rarity and the possibility of extraordinary worth. If you're curious about finding one of these coins yourself, the best place to start is by carefully searching through your change, checking old piggy banks, and even buying rolls of pennies from local banks. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to carefully examine the details. Look for sharpness, luster, and any signs of unusual striking errors. You never know when a common-looking coin might turn out to be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Grading is another crucial element of unlocking the true value of your coin. Professional grading services provide authentication and assign an official grade, which not only confirms a coin's legitimacy but also determines its market desirability. Collectors are far more likely to pay top dollar for coins that have been certified by trusted grading companies. The next step is to understand the marketplace. Coins can be sold at auctions, through coin dealers, or even online platforms where collectors gather. The rarest examples of the 1986 no-mint mark penny have appeared in major auctions, and the bidding wars that unfold are proof of just how much collectors are willing to spend. And finally, the moment you've been waiting for, the highest known sales of a 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln cent in top condition have shocked collectors worldwide. A flawless example, preserved in mint state with extraordinary eye appeal, once sold for an incredible $23,478. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where we explore the most fascinating treasures of American history, hidden rarities in coinage, and the incredible stories behind coins that might just be sitting in your pocket. Today, we are diving into one of the most mysterious and talked about coins of the late 20th century, the 1994 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. At first glance, this coin may look completely ordinary. It has the familiar copper-plated zinc composition, the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the famous Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Millions of these coins were struck and released into circulation in the mid-1990s, and most people have spent them without ever giving them a second thought. But hidden among the countless coins minted in that year are a select few that are anything but ordinary. These rare varieties, errors, and condition-specific treasures can transform a simple 1-cent piece into a coin worth thousands of dollars. The story of the 1994 penny begins in the U.S. Mint facilities. By this time, the Mint was well into producing the zinc-based cents that had replaced the traditional copper coins in 1982. Each cent was composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin layer of copper plating. Though the design remained unchanged, Lincoln's profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, small variations during production created opportunities for rare errors to occur. And that's exactly what has captured the attention of collectors around the world. To understand why the 1994 penny holds a special place in numismatics, it's important to first appreciate the role of mint marks. A mint mark is a small letter stamped on a coin to identify the facility where it was produced. In the case of pennies, you'll often see a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or, if no mint mark appears, the coin was minted in Philadelphia. But here's where things get interesting. Sometimes, mint marks were accidentally omitted, misplaced, or struck in such a way that collectors view them as incredibly rare. A 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has the potential to be highly sought after when combined with pristine condition or an unusual striking error. Condition, of course, is king in coin collecting. The higher the grade of a coin, the more valuable it becomes. Coins are carefully examined under magnification by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC. They assign grades ranging from good to mint state 70. Most circulated 1994 pennies are worth only face value, but when you find one in brilliant uncirculated condition, untouched by human hands, with its original luster intact, it can command a premium. The difference between a coin that has been sitting in a change jar for decades and one preserved in mint condition is often worth hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars. But condition is not the only factor at play. Error coins are where the story gets truly fascinating. In 1994, like in many other years, the U.S. Mint faced challenges in mass-producing billions of coins. Errors slipped through the cracks, and these minting mistakes have now become highly collectible. One of the most well-known types of errors is the double die. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once with slight misalignment, creating a doubling effect on the letters, numbers, or design details. Imagine looking at the word, Liberty, on a penny and seeing a faint shadow-like doubling. That's the hallmark of a double die, and collectors love them. A 1994 no-mint mark penny with a strong double die error can fetch incredible prices at auction. Another exciting error type is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, known as a planchet, is not perfectly aligned in the press. The result is a coin with part of its design missing or shifted dramatically off to one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. Some 1994 pennies with off-center errors show Lincoln's portrait shifted far to the edge, creating a visually striking piece that no two collectors will ever find exactly alike. There are also broad strike errors, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread out larger than usual. Or you might encounter a clipped planchet, where part of the coin's edge appears to have been cut off before striking. Each of these errors transforms an ordinary penny into a unique collectible artifact. Collectors also search for transitional errors, where coins are accidentally struck using the wrong metal composition. While rare for 1994, the U.S. Mint has a history of striking a few cents on planchets meant for other coins. Imagine holding a penny that was mistakenly struck on a dime blank, lighter, smaller, and instantly worth far more than face value. Beyond errors, what makes the 1994 penny compelling is the nostalgia it carries. For many collectors, coins from the 1990s were part of their childhood. It was the era when kids still dug through change jars, trading coins at school, or saving pennies in piggy banks. Finding a rare variety from those years feels like uncovering a hidden piece of history, connecting people to a simpler time. But let's talk about rarity. When you consider that the Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 6 billion pennies in 1994, it may seem impossible that any one of them could be special. Yet, rarity doesn't come from the total number produced, but from how few survive in pristine condition or with errors that escape detection. Out of billions, only a handful may have the right combination of condition and uniqueness to stand out. That's why collectors spend countless hours searching through rolls of coins, attending coin shows, and bidding at auctions. They're all chasing that one elusive treasure that could be hiding in plain sight. For the average person, the idea that a penny could be worth more than its face value might sound unbelievable. After all, it's just a cent. But history has proven time and again that coins with the right qualities can command staggering prices. Auction houses have sold Lincoln cents for amounts that rival luxury cars or even homes. The thrill lies in the hunt, the possibility that the next coin you examine could be the jackpot. Now imagine this: you're sorting through your spare change. You find a 1994 penny that looks unusually sharp, the details crisp and the surface gleaming. Under closer inspection, you notice something different, perhaps a missing mint mark, a doubled feature, or an off-center strike. What at first seemed like just another coin suddenly becomes a candidate for professional grading and possibly a spot in a major auction. Stories like these have happened, and they continue to fuel the passion of collectors everywhere. So what should you do if you think you've found a special 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark? The first step is to handle it carefully. Oils from your fingers can damage the coin's surface and reduce its value. Always hold coins by the edges and, if possible, place them in a protective holder. Next, consider having it examined by a reputable grading service. This not only authenticates the coin but also gives it an official grade, which is crucial for determining value in the marketplace. Collectors and enthusiasts often share their finds in online forums, YouTube channels, and coin clubs, sparking conversations and excitement. The world of numismatics is a community, one built on shared discoveries and the joy of collecting. The 1994 no-mint mark penny continues to spark interest because it represents the unexpected, a reminder that even in the modern era of mass production, uniqueness can still slip through. For those just starting their coin collecting journey, the 1994 penny is a perfect example of why you should always look twice at your change. It teaches us that value isn't just about face worth but about rarity, condition, history, and demand. A single cent, overlooked by millions, can carry a story and a value far greater than its intended purpose. As we draw this deep dive to a close, remember that every coin has a story, and some stories are worth far more than others. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one such story, a story of minting quirks, hidden treasures, and the enduring allure of collecting. And in the world of numismatics, these stories continue to captivate collectors and investors alike, proving that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest worth. So, what is the ultimate value of this elusive 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in its rarest and most pristine form? Believe it or not, one of these coins has been sold for an astonishing $29,376. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where we uncover the secrets of coins that hide in plain sight. Those small copper or silver pieces you might carry in your pocket that could actually be worth a fortune. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and often overlooked coins in American history, the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it looks ordinary, a coin you might receive in change at the grocery store, but as you'll soon discover, there's an entire story behind it that collectors absolutely love. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some of these coins are considered highly valuable, and you'll also hear about one specific example that sold for an eye-catching price. Now, before we get into the unique story of the 1995 penny, let's start with the basics. The Lincoln cent has been part of American currency since 1909, when it was first introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. The design, featuring Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, the head side, was created by Victor David Brenner. This made history, because Lincoln was the very first historical figure ever to be placed on a regularly circulating U.S. coin. Over a century later, the Lincoln penny remains one of the most iconic coins in American pockets, drawers, and collections. Fast forward to 1995, nearly 90 years after the penny's debut. By this time, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents every year, and the design itself had gone through several updates. The obverse still had Lincoln's face, while the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was introduced in 1959 to replace the original wheat ears. Because so many of these pennies were minted, most people wouldn't think twice about them. After all, what could possibly make such a common coin valuable? The truth is that subtle details, small differences in minting, and rare errors can transform a coin from a simple 1-cent piece into a collector's treasure. The 1995 penny comes from a particularly interesting era of U.S. coinage. By the 1980s, the mint had changed the penny's composition. Instead of being made primarily of copper like earlier cents, the modern Lincoln penny was struck from a zinc core coated with copper. This change happened in 1982, when the rising cost of copper made it more expensive to produce pennies than their face value. So, the 1995 no-mint mark penny that we're discussing today is actually 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper plating. This makes it lighter than the earlier all-copper cents, and over time, it also creates a unique challenge for collectors because zinc-based pennies corrode more easily. Coins that survive in excellent condition, free from spots, scratches, or discoloration, are far rarer than one might think. Now, you might be asking, why do we keep emphasizing no mint mark? To answer that, we need to talk about how coins are struck in the United States. The U.S. Mint operates several facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and West Point, though not all of them always produce pennies. Each facility stamps a small letter on the coin, known as the mint mark, to show where it was produced. For example, a D represents Denver, an S stands for San Francisco, and a W is for West Point. Coins made in Philadelphia, however, traditionally had no mint mark at all, at least until 2017 when they briefly introduced a P mint mark on cents to celebrate the mint's 225th anniversary. So, when you see a 1995 penny with no mint mark, that tells you it was struck in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Mint produced billions of pennies in 1995. But here's where things get interesting. Even though billions were made, only a small number remain in pristine condition, the kind of high-grade examples that collectors chase after. Most of the pennies went straight into circulation, jingling around in people's pockets, tossed into piggy banks, or spent at stores. Over time, they picked up scratches, dents, and wear. Finding a 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in uncirculated or mint state condition is significantly harder than finding one that's been heavily used. That's where rarity enters the conversation, not rarity of production, but rarity of preservation. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Collectors and grading services use a numerical scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect coin that shows no signs of wear even under magnification. A 1995 penny that grades at the lower end, like very fine or extremely fine, will probably only be worth face value or maybe a little more. But when you get to mint state 65, 66, or even higher, the value climbs dramatically. Sharp details, full luster, and lack of blemishes make these coins far more desirable. Another fascinating detail about 1995 pennies is the existence of a famous error known as the double die obverse. Some of the coins struck in 1995 show doubling on Lincoln's face and, more noticeably, on the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." When collectors discovered this error, it instantly boosted demand, and these double die pennies are now among the most sought-after varieties of the modern Lincoln cent series. Although the double die is more famous in the Denver Mint Mark version, even the Philadelphia No Mint Mark issues can have intriguing varieties that push their value higher. But let's not forget the real draw of this coin, the financial side. People love stories of finding rare pennies in their change that end up being worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Imagine going through an old jar of coins, expecting to find nothing unusual, and suddenly realizing that one of those dull, brown-looking cents could actually pay for a new television, a vacation, or even more. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's a blend of history, artistry, and hidden treasure hunting. Now you may be wondering, what exactly determines the top value of a 1995 No Mint Mark Lincoln cent? The answer lies in the perfect storm of condition, rarity, demand, and timing. A coin must be well preserved, preferably graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, and it must appeal to the competitive spirit of collectors at auction. When multiple bidders want the same coin, the price can climb rapidly, sometimes reaching levels that surprise even seasoned experts. For the 1995 penny, examples in the highest possible mint state grades have been known to attract significant sums at auction. This is because out of the billions struck, only a handful survive in flawless condition. Think about it, billions were produced, but coins are handled, dropped, and worn every single day. That means the tiny fraction that remain uncirculated, with blazing original luster, are far rarer than one might assume. Collectors are willing to pay a premium to own the best of the best. This brings us to a real-world example that proves just how valuable these coins can be. A 1995 No Mint Mark Lincoln penny, preserved in spectacular condition, once sold for the staggering amount of $17,364. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that most people would overlook, a coin worth just a single cent at face value, transformed into a treasure worth over $17,000 at auction. That's the incredible world of numismatics, where history, rarity, and condition collide to create stories of unexpected fortune. So, what does this mean for you? It means that the next time you're holding a handful of pennies, don't dismiss them as worthless pocket change. Take a closer look, especially at coins from the 1990s. Inspect the details, check the mint marks, and keep an eye out for signs of doubling or exceptionally sharp strikes. And most importantly, consider the condition. A coin in great shape is always worth more than one that's worn and damaged. Who knows? You might just discover that you're holding on to something far more valuable than you ever imagined. In conclusion, the 1995 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny is a shining example of how even the most ordinary-looking coin can carry an extraordinary story. Born from the Philadelphia Mint during a time when billions were produced, it remains a piece of history connected to Abraham Lincoln, American coinage, and the artistry of the U.S. Mint. While most examples remain common, the rare few that survive in exceptional condition have achieved values that astonish collectors and inspire treasure hunters everywhere. The tale of the 1995 penny reminds us that history lives in the smallest details, and sometimes, fortune hides in plain sight. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where knowledge and value come together to reveal the hidden treasures in your pocket change. Today, We are going to explore a coin that many people overlook every single day, a piece of copper-plated zinc that you may have handled countless times without giving it a second thought. I'm talking about the 2003 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that at first glance seems ordinary, but in the world of numismatics, it carries a story, history, and potential value that will surprise you. Before we dive into what makes this coin so interesting, let's take a moment to appreciate just how important the Lincoln cent has been in American coinage history. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the very first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait instead of symbolic figures. That alone marked a turning point in coin design, as President Theodore Roosevelt wanted the nation's coinage to better reflect America's values and its greatest leaders. Over time, the Lincoln cent became one of the most widely recognized coins in the world. It's been used by generations, handed from parent to child, tucked away in piggy banks, collected by enthusiasts, and still found in circulation more than a century after its first strike. By 2003, the penny had already cemented its reputation as a symbol of American history. Yet within that year's production lies a coin that collectors find intriguing, the no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Now, let's talk about the basics of the 2003 penny itself. Like other modern cents minted since 1982, it's made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. This change from the original bronze composition was due to the rising cost of copper. Each coin weighs just 2.5 grams, measures 19 millimeters in diameter, and features the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. On the reverse, you'll see the classic Lincoln Memorial design, which had been in use since 1959. That image itself carries a subtle detail. If you look closely, you can actually spot a tiny representation of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, making this coin one of the few to show the same person on both sides. The no-mint mark designation means this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which typically doesn't place a mint mark on coins. Denver issues carry a D. San Francisco coins often have an S for proof strikes, but Philadelphia's cents from this era are blank in that spot. So, when you find a 2003 penny without a mint mark, you know it came from Philadelphia. And the mint produced billions of them that year, so why should anyone care about a single coin out of such a massive production run? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and era varieties. You see, while billions of these pennies were made, most went into circulation, where they were exposed to wear, scratches, and everyday damage. Collectors, however, crave coins in pristine condition. A coin straight from the mint, preserved in perfect state with no blemishes, is worth significantly more than one that's been passed through thousands of hands. This is why some 2003 no-mint Mark Lincoln pennies, especially those graded as mint state 67 or higher, can command impressive premiums at auction. Beyond condition, era coins from 2003 have also sparked excitement. A misaligned die, a double die strike, or improper plating can transform an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. These errors are accidental and rare, which makes them highly desirable. A sharp-eyed collector who spots such a flaw could turn a simple cent into a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's why it pays to take a closer look at the change in your pocket. But what makes the 2003 no-mint mark penny especially interesting is that it represents an intersection of old and new in coin collecting. By 2003, the Lincoln cent had already been around for nearly a century, yet it was still produced in enormous numbers. For casual users, the penny may have seemed insignificant, even disposable. Yet for collectors, the 2003 edition became another chapter in the ongoing saga of America's most iconic coin. The difference between an everyday penny and one worth a fortune lies in the smallest details, details that most people never notice. Think about it, every coin tells a story. When you hold a 2003 penny, you're holding a piece of history. It circulated during the early years of the 21st century, when technology was transforming daily life, when the U.S. economy was shifting, and when millions of people around the world were using American coins as symbols of trust and exchange. Something so small, so simple, played a role in countless lives, and now, 2 decades later, collectors are rediscovering its hidden potential. Another important factor to consider is the grading scale. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale, ranging from poor P1 to mint state MS-70. Most circulated 2003 no-mint mark pennies fall somewhere in the very fine to extremely fine range, which isn't particularly valuable. But a coin preserved in near-perfect condition, say MS-67 or MS-68, becomes rare because so few survive without flaws. These are the coins that spark bidding wars among collectors. And it's not just about condition, presentation matters too. Coins stored properly in protective holders, away from moisture and handling, retain their luster and sharpness. A bright red finish, known as red in numismatic grading terms, is especially valuable compared to the duller, brown, or mixed red-brown tones that pennies acquire over time. So, if you happen to stumble upon a shiny, flawless 2003 penny that still gleams as if it just left the mint, you may be looking at a treasure. Collectors also pay close attention to strike quality. A strong, sharp strike where every detail of Lincoln's face and the memorial columns are visible adds to the coin's desirability. Weak strikes, where details look blurry or incomplete, are less appealing. Combine a strong strike with high-grade preservation and a red finish, and suddenly, you have a coin that collectors chased out of course. The world of coin collecting is fueled not just by rarity, but also by passion. People collect for different reasons. Some want to complete a series, owning one penny from each year of issue. Others hunt for rare varieties or errors. Still others see coins as investments, assets that can grow in value over time. The 2003 no-mint mark Lincoln cent fits into all of these categories, making it a coin with broad appeal. Now, you might be wondering, how do you know if your 2003 penny is valuable? The first step is to examine its condition. Use a magnifying glass, look for sharp details, check the color, and search for any unusual features that might suggest an error strike. If you think you've found something special, consider having it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. While there is a cost to grading, the value of a high-grade coin often outweighs the fee, especially if it turns out to be rare. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the 2003 no-mint mark penny story is the fact that something so common can turn out to be extraordinary. It challenges us to look at the world differently, to recognize that value isn't always obvious at first glance. In a society that often overlooks the humble penny, collectors remind us that even the smallest objects can hold immense significance. So, the next time you receive change at a store, don't be so quick to dismiss the coins in your hand. Take a moment to look closely. You never know if you're holding a piece of history, a rare error, or a flawless gem that could be worth far more than its face value. The thrill of discovery is part of what makes coin collecting such a captivating hobby. As we wrap up this exploration of the 2003 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, remember that knowledge is the key to unlocking hidden treasures. With patience, attention to detail, and a little bit of luck, you might find that an ordinary coin in your pocket has extraordinary value. And that brings us to the highlight you've been waiting for. Yes, while most 2003 no-mint mark pennies will only ever be worth 1 cent, a few rare examples in pristine condition have been sold at auction for impressive amounts. The highest reported sale for this particular penny reached a value of $10,377. Welcome back to World Information HD, where we explore the fascinating universe of rare coins, hidden treasures, and collectible money that could be worth far more than what they appear to be at first glance. Today, we'll be diving deep into a coin that almost everyone has seen or handled at some point in their lives, a modern penny that most people would probably overlook. We're talking about the United States of America 2011 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny. At first glance, this coin might look like just another small piece of change, something you would drop into a jar or hand over without thinking twice. But as we'll soon uncover, the story behind this penny, the details that make it special, and the factors that can turn it into a collectible worth real money are what make it one of the most fascinating modern coins to discuss. So sit tight, because by the time we finish this journey, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. Let's start with the basics. The 2011 Lincoln penny belongs to a coinage tradition that goes back more than a century. The very first Lincoln 1 cent was introduced in 1909, commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. The design was groundbreaking for its time. Up until then, U.S. coins typically featured symbolic figures like Lady Liberty. The Lincoln cent broke this tradition by becoming the first U.S. coin to feature the actual portrait of a real historical person. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln penny instantly became a symbol of American pride, history, and culture. Over the decades, the design evolved, but Lincoln's face remained a constant reminder of his leadership, his fight for freedom, and his role in shaping the nation's destiny. Fast forward to 2011. This was an important moment in the penny's timeline. 2 years earlier, in 2009, the United States Mint celebrated the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth with a series of 4 special reverse designs that told the story of his life, from his humble beginnings in Kentucky, to his professional life in Illinois, to his presidency, and finally, the completion of the Capitol Dome during his time in office. After those commemoratives, the Mint introduced the Union Shield, reverse design in 2010. That's the design you'll find on the 2011 penny. On the obverse, you'll see the classic image of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the word Liberty inscribed to his left and the year 2011 to his right. Above his portrait, the motto, "In God We Trust," is boldly written. The reverse design features a striking shield with vertical stripes and a banner across it with the words 1 cent. Above the shield, you'll see the words United States of America. The shield design, created by Lindell Bass, symbolizes the union of the states, harkening back to the idea of national unity that Lincoln worked so hard to preserve during the Civil War. But now, let's look at the detail that really matters here, the fact that this is a 2011 no-mint mark penny. Normally, pennies are minted in massive numbers at different facilities across the country. Each facility is represented by a small mint mark on the coin. For example, coins struck in Denver carry a DE mint mark, while those from San Francisco often carry an S. However, if you find a coin without any mint mark at all, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The Philadelphia Mint, which is the oldest U.S. mint facility, has a long history of producing coins without mint marks. This tradition carried over to the penny, and in 2011, pennies struck there did not include a mint mark. That's why when you come across a 2011 penny without a mint mark, you're looking at one made in Philadelphia. Now you might be thinking, if millions of these were made, what makes one of them valuable? Great question. Like many modern coins, the value doesn't come from its face value of 1 cent, but from a combination of factors such as condition, rarity, demand, and sometimes even error varieties that make certain coins stand out from the rest. Let's talk about condition first. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from poor to perfect mint state. The closer a coin is to perfection, with no scratches, no wear, and a beautiful shine, the higher its value to collectors. A 2011 penny that has been heavily circulated and shows scratches and dullness will usually only be worth its face value of 1 cent. But if you come across a coin that's in pristine condition, especially one graded as mint state 65 or higher, it can fetch a surprising premium. Another factor that can raise the value of a 2011 penny is whether it has an error. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process. These errors might include off-center strikes, double dies, missing elements, or even unique misalignments in the design. While most pennies are struck correctly, the rare ones that have noticeable errors can sell for much higher amounts to enthusiastic collectors. Imagine finding a penny where Lincoln's portrait looks slightly doubled, or the shield on the reverse isn't properly centered. These quirks are what collectors love, and they're willing to pay extra for them. But even without errors, high-grade examples of the 2011 no-mint mark penny can still attract attention. Think about it. Billions of pennies are used and abused in everyday circulation. They get scratched, corroded, and worn down as they pass through countless hands. To find one that looks as fresh as the day it was struck is not easy, and that rarity creates value. Now let's take a step back and appreciate why pennies like these are worth talking about at all. After all, the penny has long been considered the least valuable coin in circulation. Some people even argue that it costs more to make a penny than the coin is actually worth. In fact, in recent years, discussions about eliminating the penny altogether have grown louder. Yet, despite all of this, collectors still love the Lincoln cent. Its history, its symbolism, and the thrill of finding a valuable one in your change keep the fascination alive. When it comes to modern pennies like the 2011 no-mint mark version, the real treasure is in learning to spot the details that set it apart. Every coin tells a story, and this one tells the story of a nation's enduring respect for Abraham Lincoln, of the artistry of coin design, and of the fascinating world of minting where even a tiny error can create something unique. For coin enthusiasts, checking your change isn't just about pocket money, it's about the chance to stumble across a hidden gem. Imagine the excitement of finding a 2011 penny that looks absolutely flawless, or better yet, one with a rare minting error. It's like striking gold, except the treasure is a small copper-plated zinc disc that most people would never even notice. Collectors will often send these coins to professional grading services to have them officially evaluated and encapsulated. A coin that receives a high grade from one of these services not only carries a higher value but also becomes a more secure investment because its condition is certified. And once word spreads about a particular high-grade 2011 penny selling for a strong price at auction, other collectors start searching for their own examples. That's how demand builds, and that's how the value of a simple penny can rise far beyond 1 cent. So the next time you receive change at a store, don't be so quick to toss those pennies aside. Look closely, especially if you find one from 2011 without a mint mark. Check its condition, examine its details, and who knows, you just might be holding on to something special. The world of coin collecting teaches us that value isn't always about size or face value. Sometimes, the most overlooked and ordinary things in life hold hidden worth. And in the case of the 2011 Lincoln penny, that hidden worth can be surprisingly impressive. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the top value that one of these 2011 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent pennies has sold for in pristine condition. In the right circumstances, with the right grade and appeal to collectors, this penny has reached an astonishing auction price of $9,336.